D. Smith, the outgoing NFLPA executive director, wrote a law review article for the Yale Journal on Law and Policy. And he advocates for the scrapping of the Rooney Rule. And his argument is, put simply, that the Rooney Rule isn't effective. It's never really been effective. It hasn't changed anything, and that the NFL should instead embrace other strategies for ensuring appropriate diversity and fairness in the hiring of coaches and other key employees. And I know plenty of things in our world today are the subject of fair debate. There is no fair debate that the NFL has not had a very good track record at all when it comes to the hiring of minority assistant coaches into head coaching positions. Troy Vincent, the NFL's executive VP of football operations, said so when the Brian Flores lawsuit was filed. The problem is there's no mechanism to force the NFL to change. The Rooney Rule is just window dressing. It's easily ignored. It's easily navigated around. Check a box, still hire who you want. It doesn't force anybody to hire anyone. It just requires you to give the minority candidate the in-person interview, comply with the rule, and still do what you want. There needs to be steps taken that will intervene and delay and possibly derail that momentum that the owner already has developed by deciding weeks, if not months before creating the vacancy, this is who I want to hire. That happens all too often. That's what needs to be rectified. But as D. Smith points out in the article, there's nothing in place to force the league to do it. There's no governmental oversight of the NFL. Even though the NFL has broadcast antitrust exemption, NFL teams get billions in taxpayer money to build stadiums. There's no governmental oversight of the NFL. There's no corporate oversight of the NFL. There's no shareholder. There's no board of directors. These are individual mom and pop businesses that do whatever the hell they want. So there's no internal oversight. There's no external oversight. All we really have is the civil justice system. And the problem is any of the coaches who are unhappy with what they believe would be a failure to be treated fairly and properly and within compliance of applicable civil rights laws, well, they've signed that arbitration clause. Take it or leave it. Contract of adhesion, as the lawyers would call it. And even if you ultimately get to court and get your opportunity to prove that you were right and they were wrong, they're going to bog the case down for multiple years on this question of whether or not you've got to go to arbitration. John Gruden's lawsuit, filed November of 2021, still stuck on the question of whether or not he's going to have to go to arbitration. Brian Flores' lawsuit, filed February 1, 2022, still stuck on the question of arbitration. So the NFL has everything rigged in its favor and stacked in its favor to avoid meaningful change. And I agree with D. Smith completely. The Rooney Rule is useless. If it ever had a purpose, it's outlived it. It's not going to fix the deeper problem that manifested itself in the Flores litigation. And again, the NFL has acknowledged there's a problem. How do you force the oligarchs to change their behavior? And the recommendations in D. Smith's article, and we've got a post at PFT, I'll defer to the post, mainly because I can't remember all of them, but they're good. They're good. One of them is, let's minimize nepotism. It's worth checking out. And this is where I heard back from the NFL yesterday. I had asked last week, after the Supreme Court decision that affects in a dramatic way affirmative action in the educational setting, whether or not the Rooney Rule would be impacted as a result of it. Because there's a belief that the mindset articulated in the Supreme Court decision on affirmative action eventually is going to trickle over to any affirmative action programs, any efforts to try to rectify the inherent imbalance that existed for decades, if not centuries, for the majority race, trying to even it out, trying to make up for what's happened in the past. I asked the NFL about it last week. I was told to get back to me. I asked about it yesterday, and I was sent a memo that was sent to all league employees after the ruling last Thursday. NFL family, in light of the public interest in today's Supreme Court decisions and possible speculation about their scope and application in other business settings, we want to be clear about the NFL's commitment. Our dedication to the fundamental principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion remain unchanged. We will not pause in pursuing our policies and programs that are designed to create a level playing field to ensure that diverse voices are heard and respected, and to hire, promote, and develop leaders who represent the full spectrum of America. We will continue working with each of you, the 32 clubs and colleagues outside the league, to make the NFL a leading organization that models an inclusive, respectful, and supportive workplace for everyone. We have seen the power of opportunity when it is placed in someone's hands. We know the power of inclusion and the inestimable value of having diverse voices actively involved in decision-making throughout the league. Boy, it's hard to read that and not think about Jim Trotter's concerns that caused or contributed to him not having a job with NFL Network. That's an aside, by the way. That's not a continuation of the quote. And we have seen the extraordinary results of a shared mission with the players and clubs to create positive change in underserved and underrepresented communities across the country. Like the game of football, we strive to be a unifying organization that brings people together with a commitment to equity and appreciation of difference. Thus, on all these fronts and more, our commitment will never waver. Our work will continue unabated, and our focus will be on continuing our progress. That's what was sent last Thursday. Now, that's fine for now, but as more Supreme Court decisions or court decisions from lower courts, appeals courts, district courts that attack policies, maybe there'll be a lawsuit at some point attacking the Rooney Rule. I don't know. But further changes to the law could affect what the NFL wants to do. And a lot of those words just ring hollow because we know about the failure. Again, it's not disputed. Troy Vincent admitted it after Brian Flores filed his lawsuit. He admitted it. It's very easy to have a policy that just requires owners to check a box, and then they can say, hey, we're doing all we can, when the numbers show otherwise. The statistics show otherwise. As I said after the Flores lawsuit was filed, if you flip a coin 500 times and it comes up heads 499 times, there's something wrong with the coin. For the NFL, there's something wrong with the coin. But the league has no effective way or desire, I believe, to fix it. They want to say all the right things, but they don't want to do what they have to do because that's going to make too many waves with the oligarchs. And the next thing you know, you're Faye Vincent. And they decide to find a different commissioner. It takes a real commitment to change. And my prediction is, for all the good ideas articulated by DeMaurice Smith, the only way things are going to change is if there is governmental oversight or some sort of intervention external to the NFL that forces the NFL to change, or a lawsuit that hits the bullseye, that avoids arbitration, goes to open court, no settlement, no secret hiding of discovery information or testimony. Everything ends up out in the open. Everything plays out in open court, and everybody says, holy crap, this is a mess. They better clean it up. And maybe that'll happen in my lifetime. Or maybe not. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.